Rare earth mining companies saw a huge explosive year in 2025, but now new tensions across the globe are renewing interest in many of these stocks. Today, we are so excited to have Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets back with us to talk about three up-and-coming, lesser-known names in the rare earth mining story. I'm excited to get to the companies you have for us. These are really unique and, again, really growing companies a lot of our investors probably haven't heard of yet. But before we get into that list you have for us today, I want to talk about the bigger geopolitical story and why we saw so much investment into rare earth mineral companies last year and why we might start to see that renewal popping up right now this spring.
It is rising tensions. I mean, we're in a hot war in Iran right now, for sure. There are two chessboards that are at play here. There's one that's the Middle East chessboard, which is Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Israel, and America. But there's a bigger, larger chessboard. It's a global chessboard. And the two players there are the United States and China. And basically, who is going to be the dominant power in the world for the next 100 years is being decided through a series of moves between the U.S. and China. Now, Venezuela, Iran, Greenland are all part of the bigger chessboard, which talks about getting oil and energy at the place and getting leverage on China, because those are China proxies. Whereas Iran has leverage over us on rare earths, as was proven last year when Trump really had to come down off of those tariffs because China withheld shipments of rare earths. So that has pushed us to do two things: to really become rare earth independent, and also to get a better grip on China's energy suppliers.
Yeah, this administration in particular is very focused on those natural resources, even making investments into some of these companies. I know last year we saw MP and Lithium Americas, LAC, both of those stocks seen huge increases when the White House, really the federal government, made an investment in those companies. And we saw those stocks pull back since then. But do we think that that could continue? Could we see that further investment coming from the White House? Is there any speculation on further, really federal investment into building this kind of domestic dependence on natural resources?
These are critical for everything. Okay. I had dinner, an early dinner with chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Brett Guthrie, Congressman Chairman Guthrie, last week. And I'll tell you something. Nuclear is where it's going, obviously, for data centers. But we need these rare earths for domestic AI development, for technology, quantum, for military. A lot of folks don't know that. You take a look at an F-35 fighter jet. Every F-35 fighter jet carries 920 pounds of rare earths in it. 3% of the weight of the plane are rare earths. So this is not just about, which company, about having nice magnets or EVs for electric cars. This is about national security. There's a whole bunch of reasons we need to be hip, and the government needs to really accelerate rare earth development. It's unbelievable. And so it's critical for national security. Juxtapose that with the fact that China controls them. And, rare earths is a funny word because there's really nothing rare about them. What's rare actually is the processing of them. And China controls the processing. You cannot have your number one geopolitical adversary controlling something that is critical for national security, AI development, a bunch of things. So that's just not a situation we can put ourselves in. It's not going to happen.
I think the processing part that you just mentioned is a key point. It's not just that these are difficult to mine. It's actually being able to process them and make them usable for all of the functions you mentioned. AI is such a big one in the rare earth story too. So excited to look at the names that you have for us today. Mining them is important. Processing them is just as important. And I know we are focused on the rare earth story today, but there's also a huge story in precious metal mining as well. And I know you and your team at Behind the Markets have done a special report looking at some of those up and coming, again, really smaller hidden companies in the gold mining space, in the precious metals mining space. You can find that report in this QR code or the link we have in the description if you want to check out more of Dylan's research into the mining area. But that's not the area we are covering in this video as much. You are looking at three other companies that are really more of a rare earth story that could get some of that government interest or just general interest that we're seeing right now and developing more of a domestic rare earth supply chain. So let's get to that first company that you are watching right now. And again, this is a new name we haven't heard of before.
Solvay, really important. It's a European company. The symbol is SVYSF. And, basically it's a chemical company, old-fashioned chemical company, something that you'd go to sleep with, but very big involved in rare earths processing. And, I always kind of laugh at myself when I talk about rare earth names because I have such a hard time saying them. Neodymium, praseodymium. If I want to look like a dummy, I say these names. But anyway, these are very important rare earths for things like magnets, defense, everything we're talking about. We talked about the F-35, critical for national security and industrial security. And with Europe rearming, companies like this are more important than ever. So these are very important. And what's very unique about this company, besides the fact that they do what they do very well, is stock's about $30, $3 billion market cap. It's really cheap. It's selling for, 8 to 10 times normalized cash flow. So they generate lots of free cash flow, huge cash flow generator, and they pay it out in yield. They have a 9% yield, big dividends. So you have a cheap stock in the middle of a turnaround, really. So their cash flow is depressed, their valuation is depressed, but basically they're paying out a ton of free cash as dividends to shareholders. And once they get there around the other side of the turnaround, they get revalued at double or triple where the stock is at now.
Really interesting, and again, a really great case for the fundamentals, the financials of this company and why this makes sense for investors right now. I want to talk about the impact that the rare earth growth story could have on this company, because this isn't a new one. It's been around
Yeah.
for a while.
Oh,
Like you
sure.
said, it's more of a chemical name. Talk a little bit more about the case for why this company could see such a potential impact over the next few years, as not just the US, but other European countries, other countries are working to build out their own rare earth supply chain.
What the West realized after COVID was that China had a chokehold on a few critical areas. We had outsourced this for economic reasons. We had fatal exposure, critical exposure to China. Now, all of that stuff went to China, all that manufacturing, because they don't have anti-pollution laws. So now it's all coming back. So these companies, a lot of them that were doing, we'll call it $1 billion a year in revenue, they're going to grow just from the reshoring of all those rare earth mining, just a very reshoring of that. And the relax of regulations to make that permissible are going to really create an accelerant in top line. It's just a massive wave to ride. This is just a rare earth wave. It's just a massive wave as this gets reshored. These revenues come back, these jobs come back, and most importantly, our ability to manufacture and process these things come back for national and industrial security. The key is, here's the secret. You just don't want to overpay for these things. So, a lot of these are old line companies. They might have a lot of action. We did well with MP Materials last year and Trump. They're all flying all these things. What's unique about this play is that it's cheap. So this is actually one of the special bargains in the rare earth sector. So we're really big fans of it.
I think it's a really great point. It's something we hear from our viewers all the time. They're always looking for a stock before it pops. They don't want to hear about it after it's seen a
Right,
huge run up.
exactly.
They want it early. And so this is one of those names that could fit that bill. I also think it's a unique way to look at the rare earth story. You're not just looking at mining companies that are dealing directly with those raw materials. You're looking at what companies are helping in that processing that you already mentioned is so important and so critical. So I think this is a great way to look at the rare earth mining story, is not just
Mm,
mining companies, but those that are helping in the processing of those
that's right. Yeah,
materials.
that's the chokehold.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, let's get on to the second stock that you were talking about. Is it in a similar vein, or is this one a little different?
This is a little different. This is actually a twofer. It's Perpetua Resources. The symbol is PPTA. This is a company very famously that's developing the Stibnite Gold Project in Idaho. So, they're mining gold, okay? And when you're looking at mining gold, it's not just a gold story. If it was just a gold story, I wouldn't be talking about it today. It's actually more unique than that. If you're looking at mining gold, the key metric in mining gold here is AISC, which is all-in sustaining cost. It's actually the cost that it takes you to do this. It measures the cost it takes you to mine something. It's like your per unit cost. For every ounce of gold, how much does it cost you to mine it and pull it out? Well, here's what's interesting. Obviously, companies that do that for the lowest cost possible have big advantages, right? If somebody cost them $700 an ounce to mine something, and it cost you $400 an ounce to mine something, let's say gold, you have a big profit advantage. You are like Amazon or Walmart. It speaks to the efficiency of your operation. So very, very important metric here. Now, this company's mining gold, and they have one of the lowest cost of mining out there, one of the lowest AISC metrics, which is 435 an ounce. It makes it one of the lowest, like the bottom 3%, makes it one of the most efficient miners in the world. And the reason it does is because it's not just a gold mine. As a side effect, they're actually pulling out antimony, which is a critical mineral for national defense and clean energy. So this push for rare earths, again, this rare earth helps harden lead in batteries and deals with ammunition. So basically this push to rare earths is also helping gold miners, traditional gold miners who are pulling up a lot of this stuff anyway, right? And they're like, oh my goodness, 1 out of every 1,000,000 pieces of this dirt is an incredibly valuable rare earth. So we can lower our cost to produce, which gives us a massive advantage.
Interesting case. I was waiting to hear where this gold miner was connected to the rare earth story, but you got to it, and I think
I
that's
delivered it
that's
right down the middle of the plate.
I was thinking we're just as a gold miner here, but no. This is a rare earth story. It's so fascinating, though, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering why other gold miners aren't doing this. It makes so much sense that, of course, in the process of mining for gold, you would find other valuable minerals and materials that could be used. Is it something that other gold miners are starting to replicate, or is this company really unique in taking advantage and taking profit from some of these rare earth materials they're also discovering?
Well, they're among the first. I mean, look, these guys have their finger on the pulse, and that's what I love about America. You throw a problem out to 350 million people, and all of a sudden you start getting all these amazing solutions to that problem.
Well, and an idea that could be replicated in the future by other gold miners. And I know
Oh, yeah.
you're looking at gold miners for more reasons than just this rare earth story. I think the rare earth part of this is interesting, but so is the gold story itself. There's so many other factors at play with companies that are involved in the gold growth story right now. I know that's what you just looked into in that recent special report. I want to pop it up in case our viewers missed it this last time. Here's that QR code and a link to follow if you want to watch Dylan's full special report on some really unique gold mining companies that are flying under the radar and really a part of the gold growth story too. So if you're more interested in that story and how these miners are doing, check out Dylan's special report there. Dylan, you have one more rare earth stock for us today, and this one is fascinating. I have heard this name before, but I think the case that you're going to make for this is something our viewers are going to love. So let's get into this third company.
The metals company, TMC, is the symbol. Trading about $6 a share. It's really been stuck in this $5 to $7 range, just bouncing around there. Sometimes it goes to 480, sometimes it goes to 720, but it's just stuck in a range. It's a valuation range, basically. And, it's really interesting. I remember when the president got elected and he changed the name of, the Gulf of Mexico. He changed it to the Gulf of America. We've discovered there is a ton of opportunity under the seabed. Really, really, really interesting stuff. Apparently, there are trillions of potato-shaped rocks called polymetallic nodules. They're called among really fancy people. I call them potato rocks. But these potato rocks, because they look like potatoes to me, but each one of them apparently contains massive concentrations of 4 very, very critical metals, nickel, copper, cobalt, and manganese. And these are the same metals that really power EVs, industrial scale batteries, advanced weapon systems, AI infrastructure, all the things that we're really racing to build. So it's right place, right time. So this company is one of the few companies in the world that has proven that they can mine these. These guys have experience. They have proven they can mine this kind of stuff under the ocean. And now, in mining, and this is something that, I learned 20 years ago, actually 30 years ago now, very, very painfully when I worked on Wall Street. Mark Twain used to say a gold mine is a hole in the ground owned by a liar. And I learned that very, very early on. The other thing I really learned is mining stories really are permitting stories, because there are a lot of people that have the greatest mines in the world. But if you can't get permitted, what's the point? So these guys have a permit in front of, in front of the Trump administration, and the Trump administration, in an effort to really push this kind of stuff, really just basically last week publicly said that their permit, this company's permit, is in good order. So usually when you get that, Usually an approval follows. So, this thing gets approved to mine these in the Gulf of America or anywhere around our shoreline, even if it's not the Gulf of America first, because remining that extended shoreline, the continental shelf project really affects all around the country. But, these guys get that approval. The stock, looks like it could run.
Yeah, I think this one has so many layers to it. You mentioned a really big one is that these mining companies run on paperwork, right? They run on
Oh,
approvals
yeah.
and
Yeah.
permits. And I think that news that just came out this last week is the biggest catalyst for
Yeah.
TMC for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. For
But we
sure.
also kind of missed a part of the conversation that you hinted towards it. This company has figured out something incredibly difficult, and that's how to mine on the floor of the ocean, which is
Yeah.
a difficult thing to do. It's almost a part of that robotic story as well, which I know you and I had such a great,
Yeah.
strong video
Yeah.
on talking about
Yeah.
robotic stocks. But for this company to be able to figure out how to harvest those rare minerals and materials from under the ocean is just an extra layer. This
Yeah.
company has been working on that for a while, right?
Yeah, and they have. They've actually had test projects where they've shown that they've been able to do it, and they've already done some of it. So, you tell me there are a bunch of potato rocks at the bottom of the Gulf. I'm like, all right, let's put on our scuba gear and let's just swim down and grab one at a time. Apparently, it's not that easy. It turns out it's a little harder than that. Like you have to go really deep and do a bunch of things, and there's more underneath the surface. There's a whole bunch of things that have to be done to pull these out in mass. So, there's a lot of folks who think they can do this. But again, when you're handling my money, and an investment in this is like I'm investing in a company. I want experience at the steering wheel, not people who just talk a big game. So it gives me great comfort that these people have proven they can do it.
I want to end on the processing question that you started out with, is talking about how important it is for processing. Obviously, TMC is working to mine the materials from under the ocean, which is their specialty. It's something they've worked on and developed really, really well. Are they entering into the processing part at all, or are they handing off those raw materials?
As of right now, the most capital efficient way to do it would be to hand them off. Because that's a two-front war. Even if you're doing it, even if you're pulling a mine in Nevada, mining and processing are two different, things. And some people are vertically integrated, the big ones are. But, in the beginning, you're starting a company, you're generating cash flow. You need to fight a one-front war. You don't have the capital to fight a two-front war. So fight that war, push it out. And once you get really, really, really big, then you exert leverage on the person who's processing it for you to push down their prices, or you do it yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's why looking at this list together is so important, because it gets you a little piece of all of the rare earth material story, the miners, the processors, a little bit of everything. Dylan, thank you so much for this list today and bringing this to our viewers. Again, all three really interesting names that have a big growth story ahead of them. If you are looking into other rare earth mining stories and where some of that value can be found, I did recently interview an engineer with one of these companies, and it is a fascinating interview. If you want to go down the rabbit hole a little more on why these rare earth materials are seeing so much growth and investment right now, make sure to watch that interview too.